I had the great pleasure of being invited to Logically's second event, LogicCon, in Columbus, Ohio, the week of the 15th of October, 2024. Logically is a managed service provider, but a very large one. I've also had the great pleasure of being acquired. I was the first MSP to be acquired by Logically. So I feel like I'm really part of the community still, or part of the family still. But I went on site. They had a great event. I set up the podcast booth. I had a lot of great conversations with the staff of Logically, with some vendors that were there, and some other people. It was a great time. I'm humbled and thankful that I got the opportunity to do that. The following is one of the conversations at this great event. I want to thank Logically for letting me do this. I had a great time. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others.
Right now, I work as our manager of IT security services.
Yes.
So what's that going to include is things like SentinelOne, Huntress, kind of keeping the clients secure day to day with their endpoint protection. Also, the big one that I do is ransomware incident response and just incident response in general.
Mm-hmm.
So if clients do call us and they have a problem or an incident, we jump in, my team jumps in and helps remediate and hopefully get them through that process.
Huh. Why do you like golf?
How can you tell I like golf?
I have a feeling.
So it's actually funny you say that, because before I did cybersecurity, I used to go around to different golf courses around the U.S. For a place called Troon Golf.
I know Troon.
And what we would do is we would set up new sites for them and refresh sites through technology.
Huh.
So we bring new firewalls in, switches, computers and stuff like that.
Huh.
So I have accumulated quite a collection of golf shirts, having been to all these different clubs, because it's either you get a discount or hey, here, take a couple shirts as a thank you.
Right. Yeah. Your shirts. Yeah.
Thank you. This one's from Contra Costa over in California.
Did you play the course, or did you end up playing these courses when you go there?
It depends. Usually not, because you can't bring your clubs. It's
Right.
kind of a pain because you got to check a second bag, and there's no guarantee you actually play.
Right.
There are times you get to play a hole. Go to the driving range. They have some clubs for you, but generally it's a lot of work too, because you're doing these full network installs in like a 5-day period. So
do you play now?
yeah, I play now. I play with a couple of guys from work over in Connecticut.
So you live in Connecticut?
Live in Connecticut.
Where?
Over in the Danbury area.
Yeah. So well, I just draw a blank all of a sudden. I didn't know you were from Connecticut. So Danbury's got the big course, the public course. That's great.
Yeah, Richter Park.
The Richter, yeah. So I'm from Wallingford.
Yeah, Richter Park. I haven't played on. I'm not quite that good. So I'm more like a Vales Grove guy.
Okay.
Where you just go on, you have some fun, you keep score, have a couple of drinks on the course, stuff like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. How long have you been with Logically?
So I've been with Logically we were acquired. So I used to work for a place called the Network Support Company back in 2018. I started. We were acquired.
I know them well.
You know them well.
Yes.
It's funny. So I moved from network support.
He's a great golfer. I play with him many times there.
Jim Kennedy?
Yeah, Jim.
Yes, he's a much better golfer than me.
Yes.
But going back to that, 6 years, if you count the network support tenure, because we were acquired by Logically at the end of 2020. Then 2021 was our first year with them.
Yes. Yeah, they acquired us in 2019. We were their first acquisition. And one of my employees still works there, and all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank.
So what company did you work for? Forza.
Yeah,
okay.
So what is his name? All of a sudden, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. It'll come to me in a moment. He's got dogs. He was with me for two years. He's got married. He's still with Logically. I'm sure you work with him. Who else in Connecticut is there?
Oh boy, who else in Connecticut? I'm trying to think who that would have been.
He's still there now.
He's still there.
How come I can't think of his name?
The ones that I know of in
Dylan.
Connecticut. Dylan.
Dylan, yeah, you don't know
Platt?
no.
No.
Dylan Platt, yes.
Dylan Platt.
Yeah.
I recognize the name. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I recognize the name.
Yeah, Dylan Platt is there. Interesting. But you're more on the security side.
Yeah, so I work more on the security side. So the way we have the business set up is we have managed services. Managed services are the guys who come in and keep the lights on. They deal with the client request. They're kind of that face of Logically.
Sure.
So, you need to do a user created, you need a password reset. Great guys. They're more than happy to help you out. We work on more of the security side, so the more specialized skill set of, looking at client environments, reading through logs, trying to proactively stop threats, really.
Very interesting. And why do you like it?
So I think the idea is like the thrill of the hunt, right? Trying to give the threat actors a bad day. They're trying to get in, we kick them out. The best is when we catch things like email breaches. So we have systems in place like SaaS alerts where we can review, every login. We have rules set up. Being able to catch that initial login and saying like, okay, we found them. We lock them out of the account. I totally picture the face on the threat actor's side when they see they just got into an account and 15 minutes later they're locked out of it. Stuff like that.
That thrills you.
Kind of thrills me a little bit.
I can see the smile on your face.
It's fun to do.
To stop these bad actors.
Yeah, or you said, someone gets into the network, you're able to find out before they do any damage, you kick them out. On the other side of the computer screen, they're upset about it. That they just got kicked out of a network, they kicked out of an email account, they just spent all this time to breach.
But it's ever changing though.
It's ever changing, so what that means? I get to never stop learning. So I think even if you
Very
go
optimistic
back,
young man.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
If you go back to even a couple of years ago, just the tool sets we use are completely different. So we used to use like WebRoot, for example, just regular traditional AV.
Yeah.
That's now shifted to EDR. We have all of this new data that's visible to us. Now we're bringing in tools like Huntress that have SOCs behind them. It's become much more in-depth to manage all these tools now as well. And there seems to be that gap of people who understand how these tools work, can interpret the data, can turn it into actionable items for clients, and just protect the clients.
And Jake, what are the things just clients can do that'll help so much to prevent this?
So if clients don't already have them, using things like an EDR product like SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, we're a SentinelOne shop, that's what we really use. Having tools like Huntress for having a SOC in place. Really, endpoint protection seems to be the new name of the game. Cloud is kind of that new perimeter. Employees are remote, they're taking their laptops everywhere. It makes sense to try to protect the endpoints and protect their identities in the cloud. So on top of endpoint protection, having things like multi-factor authentication, 365.
Yeah, MFA. Right?
Having MFA, as we talked about, I'm sure, numerous times throughout the conference.
Yes.
What else is there? More recently, we've seen clients rolling out something called conditional access policies. So what that will do is lock down like Office 365 resources just to enter ID join machines. So it allows you to keep just company assets, allow you to only use company machines to access company assets. That seems to be a new trending thing, part of that zero trust model.
Zero trust is big.
Yeah, zero trust has become huge. The idea of constantly, verifying that it's coming from a device that's owned by the company. Logins are happening from there, activities happening from there. If it's not a device owned by the company, those conditional access policies will block it. But, of course, that includes a ton of technical overhead to set it up, make sure every employee is using a device that's in Enter ID, a company-owned device. So really always that security versus convenience we have going on.
How's AI helping and hurting?
So I think AI right now does a great job at interpreting massive amounts of data very quickly. We have been trying to make an effort to use large language models to interpret things like sign-in logs through SaaS alerts, for example, by feeding them in to these AI models because they're able to tell abnormalities out very quickly. I think the reason why it's a bit hurt right now is because there's a lot of AI projects out there or security projects or just security initiatives by vendors that may not live up to that same expectation the vendor sets. So, I understand AI is in its infancy. It will get better over time. I think it's very hard if the average consumer or average customer or client's first experience with AI is not good. It kind of tarnishes or stains that for the foreseeable future. So probably pushing out products before they're ready.
Yeah, something you really got to look after. Other than golf, what are you interested in? What do you do offline?
What do we do offline? Really into cars.
What does that mean?
Just the idea of
building them?
Just more so driving cars, talking about cars, that type of deal. And then, of course, computers as well. Really into hardware and stuff like that. But I feel like that just naturally has to come as working in IT.
So there's not a lot of technology in a lot of the, like, you're talking about combustible engine cars, like performance cars?
Yeah, performance cars. Like I have
Yeah.
an Audi RS3 myself.
Oh, very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you ever play the game Forza?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I also game outside of work as well. So I have a
Right.
gaming PC. Forza is probably one of my favorite games to play.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah,
Hmm.
they approached me one time. The company that I build is called Forza, and
Yeah.
they didn't do anything about it. But it's a whole. Do you work with engines at all?
No, I just like driving
Just
the
like
cars.
driving
Just
them.
like driving them. The idea is always, you work to be able to enjoy the hobbies.
Sure.
I don't have any interest in like working all day on like computers or client environments and going and working on my car. I just want to drive the thing.
And is it the speed? Is it the performance?
Just kind of the idea of just getting in the car, driving. The speed, the performance is always pluses as well.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I just finished a book on Enzo Ferrari. Fascinating man who created these cars that were nothing like it back then. It's a very interesting man. Do you like the Ferrari as well?
I really like the cars that are more obtainable. So
Ah,
like, it's cool to me to look at something like the new C8 Corvette that just came out because there's a chance one day I may own one.
I say.
So you look at like a Porsche GT3, again, like an obtainable dream car. Like those
Interesting.
are ones that interest me.
Ah,
You look at like a Ferrari Enzo for a couple $1,000,000 and you're like, I'm probably never going to be worth that, let alone be able to spend it on a car.
fascinating. So it's not the cars itself. You're interested more in driving them than actually like kind of admiring them.
Yeah, like being able to drive them, knowing one day something to work for,
Yeah.
to be able to have kind of a fast car or a nicer car. Just no interest in the cars that are a couple $1,000,000. Like they're
Right.
cool, but they seem to be like a dime a dozen. So
Jake, is there anything in the last month or so that you changed your mind on?
change my mind on.
Change your opinion on something? Anything, small or large?
I don't know.
Could be small, could be large.
I don't have a good answer for you.
Nothing comes up.
No, I think it's the first time I've been
Even
quiet.
with technology, even with cars, with
anything. I started to eat my burgers as medium rare. Versus just regularly cooked. I don't know how they're regularly cooked.
They're juicier now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're juicier as medium rare. So you know what? It's just super small thing, super weird question,
Yeah.
but sure.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. Yeah, I like a juicy burger. A lot of the fast food places, they're cooked all the way through. I like a nice medium rare. Burger. Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's a
So I
joke.
gotta ask about Forza.
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with the name, and was that before the game?
Oh yeah, Forza is an Italian word meaning force or strength. My father's an Italian immigrant, so I had that in my mind a long time ago. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's but it's force.
So it's a word then in Italian.
It's an Italian
So
word.
it's not like a trademark, and no one ever came after you.
No.
was
It's
curious
an
about that.
Italian word. Yeah. You see a lot of the soccer games when the Italian national team plays. It says Forza Azzurri, which means strength to the blue. Nothing unique about it at all. Yeah. What motivates you?
What motivates me? I gotta say, I think my dad probably motivates me.
How so?
And I say that because, growing up, we were very much middle class. I saw him work, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. He was a police officer.
In Danbury.
Over in Wilton.
In Wilton.
Yeah, and just seeing that type of work ethic and saying like, hey, this is the type of man that it takes to raise a family. This is what you have to do. Just always set that example of, going above and beyond, having that work ethic, that motivation,
Wow.
that this is just what has to get done. And you just have to do it sometimes in life. I kind of took that same philosophy to my own career in IT, which is more so like nothing in life is going to be handed to you. You have to earn that type to an extent. So if you're trying to move up, you got to learn more, get certifications, you'll continue to grow in your own aspects. No one's going to come and hand you, a senior engineer title. No one's going to come hand you a manager title, that type of deal. So
given that motivation, how do you measure success?
Success is such a hard thing to measure because
Sure
it means a
is.
lot to different people. And success also changes, I'm sure, as you get older and your priorities shift. Success to me right now is doing a good job in my career and trying to climb that ladder. But the reason why I think you climb the ladder is so you can have a family later on, be able to support them. And I think success at 30 or 40, may look like raising a family and, being a good husband and father to them as opposed to trying to be a good employee. Not saying you can't do both, but just success changes.
It certainly does, and the work-life balance comes into play. So when I started my MSP back in the 90s, I was working way too hard, and 14, 16-hour days, days in Jake, and I was putting my health way behind me. Got up to 340 pounds. Doctor says to me, if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. Scared the hell out of me, right? So I took the next 6-7 months, lost 130 pounds, kept it off. People hear it and they want, what's your secret? There's no secret, Jake. I lost it and I keep it off because of discipline. You have focus, routine, restraint. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life.
I think that discipline, it's the idea to keep going. There are times,
Keep going.
I think it's to keep going, right? And just keep kind of pushing forward. There are times where things are uncertain. There are times where you may feel like you're not perfect or you messed something up that you should have done properly. But just knowing that, you are kind of worth it and you just keep moving forward, I guess, to an extent.
Keep going. Very interesting term to relate to discipline. Yeah, don't stop. Keep going.
Yeah, if you don't get the results you want, switch up the methods and keep going.
Very cool. Thanks for your time. Anybody listening, if they want to get in touch with you, get some feedback from you, probably LinkedIn's the best place to get.
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best. That's just going to be under Jake Tarrant over here at Logically, and the spelling is Tarrant for the last name.
Very good, Jake. We'll make sure to put in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure.
Hey, you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.